looking at DGP Week 13. The first thing we will look for are our nouns. Do you see any nouns? Label them common or proper. The first noun I see is the noun table. It's a person, place, thing, or idea. In this case, it's a thing. I see another noun. It's a day. Saturday. It's the specific name of a day of the week, so it's a proper noun, capital N. There's one other noun in our sentence. Oh, two other nouns in our sentence. They are house. It's not a specific house. It's not the name of a house or like an estate, so it's a lowercase n. And there's also the name of the family that owns the house. Since it's a specific name, don't forget to capitalize it. It's a proper noun. I see a couple of articles. Go ahead and label them ART. Articles are types of adjectives. There's three of them: a, an, and the. The ones we have in this sentence are the. I need a verb to have a sentence. Which of our remaining words is a verb? It's the word set. What kind of verb is set? Is it linking I equal the table? That doesn't make sense. Is it a helping verb? Well, I don't see any other verbs. So that means it's going to be an action verb. It's showing action. I am setting something on the table. Past, present, or future? Past tense. I have three remaining words. One of these words is a replacement for a noun. My name is Michelle. If I were to say something using my name and replace it with a pronoun, I would say I. I set the table. Michelle set the table. Because it's replacing a name, it is a nominative, first person nominative pronoun. It's a naming pronoun. Rather than a name, I'm replacing it with the word I. I have two remaining words. At the Andersons, on Saturday. If it's showing relationship to a noun, which both of these are, we probably have a preposition. A lot of times, these are things that can be done to a box. You can go in a box, on a box, at the box, around the box, between the boxes. Now we're ready to look at Tuesday. On Tuesday, I know that I will always need a subject and a verb to have a sentence. I might have more than one. Let's look at Monday. How many verbs did I have? I only had one verb. Go ahead and mark that verb on Tuesday with a V. It was the word set. We need to know what is doing the setting. I set. That's going to be my subject. It's what's doing my verb. I need to know whether there is a direct object in this sentence so I can figure out whether my verb is transitive or intransitive. I set what or who. Subject, verb, what or who. That's our test to find our direct object. I set table. I think that it might end up being a direct object. It's one of our complements, but we need to check out our chart to find out if this is really a direct object. Here is our complement chart. There are three types of complements that we're looking at today. Keep in mind, there's also an indirect object, but we're not talking about that today in our chart. For our DO, direct object, the verb type is action, it follows an action verb, and it functions as a noun or a pronoun. To have a predicate nominative, it follows a linking verb, and it functions as a noun or a pronoun. It can also be a predicate adjective, a PA. This also follows a linking verb, but it functions as an adjective. Hopefully that'll help us to make our decision as we look for complements in this sentence. I see in my chart that I need to have a subject, I need to have an action verb, and it needs to answer subject, verb, what or who. Do I have an action verb? Yes, I do. The verb set. It does fulfill the requirements, so we know that table can be a direct object. The last thing we want to check is to make sure that it's not part of a prepositional phrase, because our DO is never part of a prep phrase. Go ahead and mark where each of your prepositions begin with a parenthesis. We know they're going to end with a noun or a pronoun. At the Andersons, at the Andersons' house. Which one makes more sense? I think the second one did. At the Andersons' house. We don't really need the word Andersons. We just know that it's happening at a house. Andersons is just describing the house. On Saturday. Both of these are prep PH, prep phrases. Your OP is always going to be the last word of a prepositional phrase. For space, I'm going to label it under Saturday on mine. You can put it above if it fits. At the Andersons' house, the last word is house. Remember, Andersons is just describing the house. And we need to find out if our verb is transitive or intransitive. If it has a direct object, it's a transitive verb. Now all I have left is my underlining. I need to find my complete subject and my complete predicate or verb. My complete subject is going to include the subject, the simple subject, one time, and then it'll also have any words that modify I or describe I. In this case, it doesn't look like there's anything that is describing I. Let's go ahead and underline our verb, our primary verb, 2 times. And now I can look through and I can see if everything's describing I or set. Is it I, the table at the Andersons' house on Saturday, or set, the table at the Andersons' house on Saturday? The second one made more sense. All of this is going to be underlined 2 times because it's part of the complete predicate, the complete verb. Did you guys catch the last thing we need to do? We need to figure out what word the prepositional phrases are describing. Is it set at the Andersons' house on Saturday or table at the Andersons' house on Saturday? We're setting the table, so because of that, it's all describing our verb. Both of these will be ADV prep phrases. It's modifying the action verb. Now we're ready to look at Wednesday. On Wednesday, I'm looking for my clauses. I need to see how many subject and verb pairs I have. I have 1 subject and I have 1 verb on Tuesday. Therefore, I know I don't have any compound subjects or compound verbs, and I know I only have 1 clause. We'll start our clause at the very beginning of the sentence because there's no nouns of direct address. I'm going to keep going until it makes sense. I set the table. Well, that would make sense, so I'm going to try it out. What's the problem with at the Andersons' house on Saturday? If you said that there's no subject and no verb over there, you are exactly correct. That's just 2 prepositional phrases. Prepositional phrases cannot be orphans. Therefore, we're going to have to go until the very end of our sentence. We have our subject, I. We have our verb, set. They're like the parents in the clause. Everything else is under the same house. Because I only have 1 clause, we know it's going to be independent. Every sentence has an independent clause. If it didn't, it would be called a fragment. If there's only 1 clause, it's going to be a simple sentence, and our sentence purpose can either be declaring, it can be interrogative, it can be exclamatory, or imperative. Is it making a command, exclaiming something, making a statement, or asking a question. We're just making a statement, so this will be declarative. Let's do some punctuation. The first thing that I'll do with punctuation is capitalize the first word of my sentence. Let's see if there's any other proper nouns that need to be capitalized. There are two. Anderson's, this is a person's last name, and Saturday, this is the day of the week. Now we need some end punctuation. We said it was a declarative sentence. We'll end with a period. We also want to make sure that we use an apostrophe to show belonging. Whose house is it? It is the Andersons' house. When it already ends with an S, we're just going to add an apostrophe to the end. We'll look at our apostrophe rules to see why. If you look at rule number 1 under apostrophe, it says use apostrophes to make words possessive and to make contractions. In this case, we are making a possessive showing whose house it belongs to. It's the Andersons' house. We're ready for Friday's diagram. We start off by figuring out how many crosses we will need to complete this diagram. 1 clause, 1 cross. 2 clauses, 2 crosses. 3 clauses, 3 crosses. How many clauses did I have on Wednesday? 1 clause. Go ahead and mark 1 cross. Give yourself plenty of room. On the left-hand side, we always put our subject. On Tuesday, we see that our subject is I. Go ahead and capitalize it since we did that on Thursday's punctuation and capitalization rules. On the right-hand side, we'll put our verb. On Tuesday, we labeled our verb as set. Did we say that we had a complement on Tuesday? A PA, a PN, an indirect object, or a direct object? Yes, we had a direct object, table. By looking at our diagram notes, we know that we mark a direct object by connecting the line and having it touch the other line here. It's a straight line, not slanted. If it was slanted like that, you'd have a PA or a PN. Go ahead and write your direct object on the right side of the line. What did you set? You set the table. I have a couple of modifying words. The first word that I have is the word the. Which table? The table. The is a type of adjective called an article. Describing words like adjectives go underneath the word they modify. Now I have 2 prepositional phrases. Did you say that they were describing the verb, or are they describing the subject or another word on Tuesday? You said they were both adverb prep phrases, so they're going to go under your subject. That's what they're modifying. Give yourself plenty of room. Go ahead and put your first prepositional phrase first. Your prep goes on the first line. Your OP goes on the second line. And now I have a couple of modifying words. Anderson's and the. Whose house is it? It's the Andersons' house. So we're going to put Anderson's under house. Don't forget to capitalize it. And the is describing Anderson's, the family name. So we're going to make that modify Anderson's. I have one other prepositional phrase. It's also modifying my verb. Put your preposition on the slanted line. Put your object with the preposition on the straight line. Your diagram is now complete. Great work.